right. Hey, welcome to the Reach Keep podcast. This is Mike Holmes, your host, and we're covering the topic of church safety and security. And we've been doing a bunch of the shorter podcasts on our Better Sundays podcast, but I want to spend some time on this particular topic. It's a little bit longer, more detailed, something I can't cover in that 7 to 10 minute range. I want to spend some time talking about just security awareness. And so we'll dive into the details of that in just a moment. It is good to have you here. We're grateful for everyone that comes to our podcast, whether it be our short forms, which is the Better Sunday podcast, or one where we take a little bit more time explaining things, a little bit more conversational. And this is called the Reach Keep podcast. So a little bit different format. This one will take our time, spend some time with you. And if you have any questions, you can, of course, put those right below, answer those below, or you ask them below, and I'll answer them below. Anyway. It's good to be here. I am speaking on a Sunday afternoon here in Sinclair, Wyoming. I am now the interim pastor back at the church that I planted, and so been very, very busy kind of getting things finished in our building, revamping our kids' ministry, and a bunch of things. So security is on the mind. Met with our security guys last night, spent a bunch of time with them on a Zoom call and got some good training in, but we have some great excitement and recruited and today trained a brand new security safety team guy. And so a lot of good things going on here at our church. As always, we appreciate it when you listen to the whole thing and you hit the thumbs up and like us and share us and those type of things. Something we really appreciate that probably doesn't get, enough press, or it's kind of harder to do, but it's just when you let other pastors and other church workers know about what we're doing. Now, you can do it digitally by sharing and, things along that line, but just letting people know that there is a resource that covers the things on how to make better Sundays, how to have your Sundays be better than the one before, and then ones like the Reach Keep podcast where we kind of dive into these topics a little bit longer. But we appreciate all the people that do that, and for some reason, a lot of people have been talking and posting links to some of our different things, and it always amazes me the different topics that are out there. But recently, a bunch of our Christmas stuff, how small churches can have great Christmas, how to do an impromptu Christmas program, all sorts of different things along the Christmas side have been being brought up, even though it's only October when we're covering this. So I guess people are starting to think about those things. So we want to spend some time talking about security, though, of your church. And we included safety and security. Now, I spent a lot of time going out into other churches and doing assessment of their visiting and their, how they're doing, reaching the community, their greeting, new guests coming in, all sorts of things. I actually spend time going through their website and their email strategy, a lot of different things. And one of the things that often gets assessed is the safety and security team of how they're doing. And I've been in churches that are just really doing a great job with that. I was in one recently where one of the guys is actually connected with training people with the FBI and stuff at that level back east. And it was like, wow, they really knew their stuff. And then smaller churches, of course, out in the West are just, some people paying attention to the different issues of safety and security and maybe not near as formalized. And the size of your church and whether you're city or rural and have past security issues or whatever, all of that is, makes a difference as to how you do your team. And when we go look at them, we assess and kind of, give our recommendations based on, your local area. But the bottom line is, as I mentioned when we started this series, is that this is an issue, an area that needs to be covered. And there are churches where people are not real up to speed on some of this, and they don't think there's necessarily a need for that. And in smaller rural areas, I certainly can understand if you don't have a lot of guests and visitors, it certainly can be downplayed a little bit. But times are a-changing. Things are different than what they used to be. And so we want you to seriously consider these topics. Now, if you go back to the very first one that we did on security and safety, and I'll put the link on here, and it's like a checklist for pastors to know about safety and security. We'll get the whole list, and I'm going to kind of go through quite a bit of that here in just a moment. But I do make the point there that it is something that needs to be addressed at, sometime during the life of a church, and when you're having meetings with administrative people and governance type people, are we safe and are we secure? There are many things that you may think, well, we don't have crime and active shooters and things along that line. But what you do have is, medical problems. People will get sick. There will be people that pass out. There will be children that get sick. There will be tornado warnings or whatever in your part of the country. And all of those things need to be covered. So that's why I'd like for you to go back and kind of go through and watch all of these. Most of them are 15 minutes or less. The first one or two is 15 minutes, but most of them are a little bit shorter as we deal with background checks and things of that nature. And then we got several more that we're recording, and we'll be going through it. But this one is what we call awareness. It's safety and security awareness, and it is letting your people know. This is kind of the gist of what we're going to talk about today. Letting your people know what is going on in this area. I learned long ago that informed people are happy people. Okay, let me say that again. Informed people are happy people. And you want to make sure that people are well informed, they know what's going on. And when people have, questions about things, sometimes it's in the back of their mind, they don't think about it, but when you bring it up, they go, oh, well, I'm really glad there is security in the parking lot. I'm glad they do background checks, and people appreciate it when you care for them. They don't know, or they don't care how much you know till they know how much you care. You've heard that statement, very popular, and that is the fact that if you are showing that you care for people, they're going to spend more time paying attention to what you have to say. So this is the general idea of we are concerned for other people. We love other people, so that's why we have a tornado warning procedure. That's why we background check our nursery workers. That's why our people, wear a lanyard so that, so that they are identifiable, to guests and visitors. So these are all important things. Now, there are several ways that you can kind of do this. And what I want to do is give you some of the ways that you can make people aware that you care, aware that you have safety team, aware that you have a security team, and whatever you want to call it. I was at a church recently, and they, for some reason, thought that they were forbidden from calling it a security team. Maybe that's some state law where they were, that you can't call it security unless they're like licensed security or whatever. But you need to make sure your building's secure, and there is safety team and security in place. So there are several ways to let people be aware of things that are going on, and I want to go through those now. So here's the first one. Most churches have some type of information bulletin that is published, if not, weekly, at least monthly. And it's got, a lot of the, don't forget the potluck here, and don't forget the 4th of July parade there, and, things along that line. That place is where you can put announcements that go out to the general public that are out there. So your bulletin is a powerful tool for putting announcements about things that you are doing. Now, one of the things that we have learned about bulletin is it doesn't always have to be just announcements about times and dates, but many times you can just put concepts in your bulletin, like we're a church that cares for children and families. That's all you need, a little sentence kind of tucked between everything else. We're a church, that believes that creation is more important than evolution. I mean, if you want to do like a doctrinal one like that. We're a church that cares for you. We're a church that believes in prayer. Prayer changes things. I mean, there's all sorts of things you can have in there. So your bulletin can have things in it, little blurbs in it that just say, all children's workers have been through background checks. And this is where, like I say, just put it in the bulletin, So you can have that at that level where it is just announced right there in your bulletin. So the bulletin is one of the places where you can put all these. And I'll kind of go through a few of them in a moment so you kind of and get some ideas of, and I'll tell you some of the things that we've actually done there. The other thing that churches have, almost all churches have some level of announcements, whether they're at the beginning of the service, the middle of the service, end of the service, wherever, but there's some type of from the pulpit, someone speaking this announcement. And this is the same thing. Many of these concepts that we're talking about can be and should be announced from the pulpit. Now, this would be, things like we're doing, a fire drill training this afternoon. The fire marshal is coming through the building, checking our fire extinguishers on Monday afternoon. If you're going to be here, just want to let you know what's going on. You would make that kind of announcement. Of course, that could be in a bulletin as well. So the verbal announcements, though, have a more weight than a written announcement. So let me make that clear, and I think you understand that. It's like if something's written, it's okay. Most people don't hardly read the bulletin stuff, but if you are standing up there and you say, by the way, this afternoon, when choir practice is going on, you may notice a bunch of firefighters in the building, and the reason is because we're mapping out our exit strategy, and we're going through and checking our egress and all those kind of things. So don't be alarmed. It's just us, and that's what we're doing. And your firefighter guys would be in the building doing that. You would just make that announcement, and then, again, that could be in the bulletin, but if it's an announcement, man, there's a lot of clout to that. And what that is doing, the same thing with the bulletin stuff, it's letting people know, it's like, wow, they have planned egress. I mean, they know how to get people in and out of the building. They know how to do fire alarms. They know where the pull stations are, things along that line. You can even do follow-up things where you would say, next week we're going to be talking about fire drill and tornado drill procedures. I will take a few minutes out of the message to make everybody aware of what those procedures exactly are. We want all moms and dads to know how to get reunited with your children if there's a fire drill. We want the nursery workers and the people that have nursery age children to know how to get reconnected with their kids. We want to make sure that is all clear. So next week we'll be doing, we won't do an actual fire drill, but I will explain a little bit of what the fire drill procedures are. When you do that, you are assuring people that you have forethought and you have this conscientious forethought of like, hey, I'm paying attention to your kids. I'm paying attention to your nursery children. I'm letting you know. And your workers will also go, oh, yeah, we need to know that. I just did a review at a church, an assessment, and when I was working with the security team, they had a really good plan for a couple of major things if something happened in their church, like the shooter kind of thing. They were, a little bit prepared for like tornado drill and some of that. But the security team, had that all thought about, but the nursery workers and the children people didn't really know that there was a plan or what that plan was. So that's why you have these practice sessions and these announcements and go through some of those things. So when you announce that you're going to be having the fire department people in the building, when you announce that you're going to be going through egress procedures or whatever, and that you will then, follow up with everybody, that's very assuring to people. Now, most of us preacher types, we would love to have that extra 5 minutes back in our sermon, okay? But let me say something. That if your sermon is cut by 5 minutes, but you show that you care and love for people, man, that's going to make a difference. And so you want to do that. So these first two here are the announcement and the bulletins. Those are the two. There is a third one here that actually has another level of kind of clout to it, and it's kind of like an announcement, but it's a little bit different, and it's what we call a sermon mention. It's when you're in the midst of a sermon. Okay, that's when most people are paying attention. That's what gets kind of, put out on, your social media stuff. People are really paying attention to the sermon. They can tone you out during the announcements, but during the sermon, hopefully they're paying attention. And in mid-sermon, you might say something to the effect of, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, and we're fighting a spiritual battle, and there are evil things in high places. And that is why we train our workers to be looking for and watching out for any type of predatory type people that would be coming to our church, because there are people that don't like what we're doing. That's also the reason why we do background checks and train our people, okay? Because there is wickedness in high places. But let's get back to the message, and boom, 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 you go right in. That's a powerful, powerful way to make any type of announcement have a lot more legs to it and a lot more crawl to it. It'll really have a lot more punch to it. And so what you need to do is have that written in your sermon notes, that is a sermon mention, we call it. Now, there would be other ways of informing your people if you have church texting things, or if you have email that goes out to your entire church. You have, as we do, we have kind of a Facebook page, which is just for our church attenders, the people that are close by, and on that you could do all the same thing. Don't forget, on Tuesday the fire marshal will be here going through the building. You can put all of that stuff there, but those are the big three: the announcements, the bulletin, and the sermon mention. Those are the main three tools that you have to make this security awareness happen. So let me go through a couple of the ways that we have it. We have, and these are the kind of the 9 main categories that we're doing. Facility security is one of the first ones we did, and there's already one that you can listen to on this. And this is people during the service time are actually out and about. And this is a very easy thing to mention, or put in your bulletin that, hey, during the service time, our parking lot is patrolled by our security team. That's all you have to write. And it lets people know there's a security team and they're walking through the parking lot, that type of thing. So you can put that in the bulletin. You also can mention it. There may be times, and we did this recently, we actually honored our security team and had some little plaques for them and some things along that line. So you can announce that. You can do that in the bulletin. Check-in, check-out procedures. Okay, the check-in, check-out procedures. This is something that you can talk about in the sermon. Say, by the way, moms and dads, I just want to let you know, your children are not only getting the Word of God, in the nursery and in the classes we're teaching them, but sometimes they may come home with something else. You know what that is? A sticker on their back. And you may wonder what that sticker is, but that sticker lets our workers know that your child is gluten-free, or they're not allowed to have, certain this or certain that. They have an allergy, because we care about your children. And that also helps us as we check your children in and out. They are under our jurisdiction. We want to make sure that only the right people are picking them up and taking them home. So not only will they get the Word of God in their heart, but they might get a sticker there. And so just be aware of that. So just a real simple way to say that. It takes 30 seconds and lets people know that you have a check-in and check-out procedure. Another one here is, you might, and this is the how and why of background checks, and we recorded that one. You'll need to listen to that one about how to do those. This is a great announcement, and it might be, hey, you may notice when you're at church, there's certain people that have lanyards on. The people with the lanyards are some of our staff people. They've all been through background checks, and some of them are involved in security of the building. Some of them will be involved in medical things. If there's an emergency, we have a lot of people in our building. We want to take care of you. And some of them are just in the nursery holding the children and spending time with them. But we want to let you know they've been through a background check, and we have approved them, and that's why they have that. And if you have any kind of questions, go to a person that has a lanyard, and they can probably point you the right direction. But all you have to do is say that a couple times a year. You kind of mix these kind of in. So that is the how and why of background checks. The safety in medical emergencies is one that very, very important for let people know what a medical emergency is, and some of that who is the trained person. So it's kind of like, by the way, we want to let you know that every Sunday we have a trained medical person on staff here. Or you'd say, like I was at church not too long ago, they didn't have a EMT on staff, but they have a couple of nurses and a doctor. And it would be just kind of like, we just want to let you know that if there's a medical emergency, we have medical people in our congregation that will help take care of you. We've already talked to them. They are ready to help at a moment's notice. Plus, we are only 4 minutes away from the local fire station, and we can dial 911, and they will be here in any type of medical emergency. So that's all you say. Or, by the way, you might notice we did some fundraising recently, and we got a defibrillator, and it is on the back wall there. Make sure you go by and take a look at it. That is one of our AED defibrillators that help if there's some type of heart attack, and we have people who've been trained on how to use that. But I just want to let you know that we care about your heart, but we also care about your heart. Okay, so you can have a little fun with that one. So the next one is the idea of training for prevention, of safe prevention type training. And this would be more of a bulletin thing. So don't forget, next Saturday, all our workers are coming in for the special medical training, fire training, and how to recognize potential child abuse and things like that. Training. We have a training next Saturday. We have a training in 2 weeks. We have training here. We have training there. Letting people know that you have training. Now, those trainings can be short. And by the way, I was at a church a while back, and they said they do training once every 5 years. And it was like, whether you need it or not, every 5 years we train. That is not right. Okay. You need to have more training than that. All right. Now, there might be skills training that you might want to just do every few years. If people know how to teach the Bible, but we're talking about medical type training, and that needs to be announced and let people know that there's going to be, American Heart Association is going to be here doing CPR classes. We're doing the Stop the Bleed tourniquet classes next Saturday for all our men that are on the security team. And you would just put that in your announcements and let people know that that is going on. So the next one is really an important one, and this would be one that you would want to announce, and of course you'd want to get emails out to people, and this would be your nursery safety and security. If there's ever a place that needs really good safety and security, it is our church nursery. And the reason is because the kids are more vulnerable than anybody, and also they're not mobile. They don't have the ability to get up and going. I was in a church just a few weeks back in New England, and we did some emergency training, and it was for evacuation, and it was very well done. They had it all planned ahead of time. And they had they make a long rope that has these little kind of bunny ear things that kind of stick out on it. And they laid it on the ground, and they had the kids all come up and get on both sides of the rope and hold on to one of the things. So essentially you're making like a little train, and then they would lead the kids to a safe and secure place. Now, if it was like a tornado, you'd be leading them away from the windows. If it was some type of shooter situation, you'd be leading them to a secure area. They knew all that. But they practiced all that, and it was good, and that was done with all the kids. Now, for first, second, put it this way, fourth, fifth, and sixth graders, they knew exactly what to do. First and second graders were a little rough on that because those are kids that have just come out of like a pre-K or a nursery thing, and they didn't know what to do. So when we talk about training and going through nursery training, we're even another level down there. Those kids can't even get up and grab hold of rope. They are stuck in a crib or are not mobile at any level. And if you have an emergency, an evacuation, a tornado or whatever, one of the prominent things that you'll have to deal with is moms and dads breaking every rule or whatever they can, but they're going to get to that nursery and get their kids, okay? If you're saying the parents evacuate this way, but their kids are in the nursery over there, they're going that direction. That needs to be talked about ahead of time. So you need to have a conversation about how that is going to happen if there's a tornado or some other major kind of a problem. We live in a community right next to an oil refinery, and so one of our greatest potential threats has to do with evacuation from, fire and explosion and, the noxious gas type of stuff that could come with some of that. And so we have talked about all that, how to get people in and out of the building, and where we actually get in and out of our town. You actually have to evacuate the town where we live, and there are procedures for that. And we have what we call reverse 911 code red on our phones, and we are able to be able to get everybody out. But it's been discussed. That's what I'm saying. You need to talk about nursery evacuation. Again, I was at church not too long ago, and the nursery workers, they kind of knew what they would do, and the security team was kind of over here, kind of knowing what were going to do, but they hadn't really had conversations. These two little silos had not really conversed on what exactly was the best thing to do in the different circumstances, like how to get out of the building with a fire. It's kind of an out of the building thing. With a tornado, it's more to the center of the building or to a basement, a secure place. If it's some type of threat or a shooter, it's into a secure area. Those are all different. I mean, it's this way in one case, this way the other, and down in the closet with the other. You need to have conversations on that, and you need to make sure that you are talking about, like, hey, next week the nursery team is going to be meeting with the security team. We'll be meeting at 2:00 on Sunday afternoon before choir practice or whatever to go through some of our security procedures. So you make that announcement, you put that in the bulletin, and you get the bulk of the people there to go through and to discuss that. So you have to make sure that you're getting that into a bulletin, you're getting that announced, you're getting that even a sermon mention. That's kind of a little nitty gritty for sermon mention. Sermon mentions are a little bit broader usually, something that's going to affect everybody, like we are here to protect you. We have background checks, the police patrol the property and the parking lot during the service. Those are more the sermon mention type of things. But the nursery and safety security is something that needs a worthy discussion to go through. So take time to have those discussions. Very, very important. The last couple here, one is what we call administrative security, and this has to do with the proper record keeping and some of those things. This is probably something that's probably not mentioned, other than just like, hey, we do background checks and we have files, and we take care. You might mention that a little bit here, but it's sort of a background infrastructure kind of thing. This would include, the administrative side of watching security cameras and recording of security cameras, that type of stuff. So you'll let people know that. And by the way, just security cameras by themselves are actually just tremendous awareness things right there, that you have cameras up, and little stickers, that says security cameras on the premises, those type of things. And there are many philosophies on that. We'll talk about that when we get to this admin. Are the security cameras there just recording? Are the security cameras actually monitored live right there? Is somebody watching them? Nowadays, you can watch them on your phone. Many of them, very nice setup. The last one here is just this idea of the marketing side of this, and this is where it's in your printed material. So your printed material that hands out to the children's department would have something in the bottom that says, by the way, all our workers have background checks, all our workers go through X number of hours of training, however you want to do that. But you're actually leveraging this in your marketing side of things. This would also go on your website, that there's background training and, this kind of stuff out there. So those are the things that you want to do. Make sure you're getting some of that stuff out. So keep this in mind again, that it's the announcements and the bulletins are your two ones that it should have something really every week in the announcement or your bulletin that touches on just one of these security issues. And again, it can be just a little blurb, security training coming up next week, nursery training coming up this week, background checks all due by such and such a time, things like that. And then the sermon mentions, which is the more powerful thing, where you are mentioning something and just talking about it and letting people know how much you care and love for your kids. And a very, very important thing here. So I hope all of this has been helpful. Now, you can go back and watch these in YouTube, going to our YouTube channel and going to the video button there, and it shows them all, the ones that we have recorded so far. Those are on the Better Sundays podcast, and then this is the Reach Keep podcast. They're all kind of showing up in the same feed, so you'll see them. It's just the way that we manage it internally. It's a little bit different. If you have any questions or comments, we would like for you to put those below. If you're typing it on your phone, they're right there on the screen, right below the screen. You can do it, or on a computer, you can put them right there as well. If you have any topics that we're not covering with safety and security, any questions about things, feel free to put some of those in so that we will cover that. Every church is a little bit different. Like I say, we have evacuation procedures because we're in a town that has somewhat dangerous, but not everybody has that. I just was in a place where there was very difficult security or difficult problems, and they didn't even allow like backpacks into the church. They would secure your backpack for you and put it in a locker, just because of the potential of someone carrying the bad things in there. And they had bad problems happen, so they have to make sure that happens in their community. Everybody's a little bit different, but you need to have some of these conversations. So if you're an administrative person, if you're a senior pastor, if you're a deacon, if you're some type of governance, elder, whatever, these things need to be discussed, and some of them will be very short discussions, some will be longer discussions, but please take time to make these things happen. We are responsible for people when they come into our building, okay? We are responsible. And it's the essence of love, the essence of caring for people, comes from that we're created in the image of God. And people that are created in the image of God are important to us. And if it's important to them, it's important to us. So we're going to spend time talking about it, thinking it through, working on it ahead of time. So I hope this has been helpful. If this is, please take a moment and give us the thumbs up. We like that. Or share this. Or if you've never subscribed, you can subscribe to our channel or to our podcast. We appreciate that very much. And of course, then, as I mentioned earlier, the people that pass these things on to other pastors and other people are a great blessing. So if you take a moment and passes this on at one way or another, we'd appreciate that very much. So as always, if you need anything, you can reach me at info@reachkeep.com. My name is Mike Holmes, a senior pastor, but now I'm the senior interim pastor here at Sinclair Baptist Church, and we're in the process of getting some new leadership here, and we're very grateful. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be the senior pastor again, to be able to speak and to help and guide our little ship through the big ocean. And again, we had a great Sunday today. I'm very excited about it. So, hey, God bless you. Thank you for being with us, and we will see you the next time here at the Reach Keep podcast. Don't forget to look us up at reachkeep.com.